Ever played Sunwards? Here's a new action game with light role-playing elements, released in April of 2020 by Chinese publisher and developer Black Crow, a company I've never heard of. The story goes thusly. You play the role of Niche, a witch of some sort, who enters the dreams of a magician named Hagel, with the goal of destroying whatever evils are causing his nightmares. This is very much a combat-forward game with heavy emphasis on learning enemy attack patterns. There are a number of foes in the game, each with their own fighting styles. Like other games in the genre, the enemies are a lot tougher than our protagonist. Death comes quickly when surrounded by baddies, and it really only takes a few hits to take down our hero. Conversely, the enemies have tons of hit points. Waiting, dodging, and then attacking tends to be the way to go with a lot of these guys. The smaller enemies can be interrupted before they attack, but the larger ones won't budge much when hit. It's best to wait for the right time to strike. The fighting is tough too. It takes a lot of practice and patience. Skills are super useful and can be found in these orange chests, usually guarded by baddies. There are a bunch of skills with varying abilities, 4 of which may be equipped at once. I found a combination I liked and mostly stuck with it. Multiple slash, blazing sword, shadow attack, and of course the healing skill. This combo worked well for me. You can do a bunch of damage by combining blazing sword and multiple slash, which became my go-to method of dispatching opponents. In addition to acquiring skills, Niche can attain runes which boost certain abilities. It takes 5 rune fragments to form a full rune. Each rune fragment costs 2,000 of whatever the in-game currency is called. You never know what rune fragment you are going to get when you spend your money. As such, you may have a bunch of runes that you're never going to use. Most of them are repeats. As far as I can tell, just having 5 of the same rune fragment does not allow you to form a more powerful rune. For example, I really wanted to increase the rate at which my magic would regenerate. I have 6 of these magic regenerating runes, but I am unable to combine 5 of them for a more powerful one. In fact, I have lots of redundant runes. As you can only have 6 equipped at once, the player must choose which runes to use and when. The game world itself isn't too huge and everything takes place in the one setting. While the world appears to be wide open and ripe for exploring, the gameplay is actually rather linear. There are a total of 9 bosses, each of which tend to mark the end of a section. The bosses are tough too. You definitely can't go toe-to-toe with any of them. Each boss has its own set of moves and patterns to learn. Killing a boss tends to reveal a new save zone, referred to here as a memory point. Resting at a memory point will replenish your health and magic, but also bring all of the enemies back to life. These memory points are also where the player respawns upon death, and death happens frequently. This is a punishing game with a high level of difficulty. On the plus side, you will never lose any money you've attained. There is no penalty for death aside from having to fight the baddies again on your way to get back to where you were, which means that you are going to be doing a lot of running back to the bosses after they give you the beatdown. The visuals look as good as can be expected for a budget title. In fact, with a price tag of only $10, I would say the game looks pretty darn decent. There really isn't very much variation in the environment, but what is there is visually appealing enough. I wish there was some cool lighting effects from the fire, but oh well. The light reflecting off the pools of water looks pretty cool though. The sound here is just okay. It makes noise when you hit someone or get hit. The music though is repetitive and forgettable. I recommend turning it off and pairing the game with other music of your choice. Or no music, you can do whatever you like. While the game is fairly linear, you may find yourself getting turned around and not sure where the next boss is. A map would help this immensely, but maps are only available for viewing while at a memory point. Fortunately, you can also warp from memory point to memory point if you miss a boss. Once the 8 bosses are defeated, the entrance to the big boss is clear. This guy is difficult. At the time of this writing, I've still not been able to kill him. His attacks are devastating, the guy has tons of health. Dashing away from his attacks is all you can do. It's very difficult to get a clear shot without taking tons of damage. The other bosses were difficult as well, but I was able to get a little better with every death until at last the boss would fall. But not this time. I think I've tried at least 20 times to take out this boss, but to no avail. Getting to the end of the game, or at least to the final boss, takes only a few hours. And that's what I really like about this game. There isn't a ton of story, and you aren't going to waste your time talking to NPCs and learning about the history of the game world or nonsense like that. Your goal is simply to vanquish all the bosses, a goal I've not yet attained, and it's bothering me. Though I haven't completed the game 100%, I'm still confident that I can summarize the experience by spouting off various pros and cons. The game itself is fun to play. While dying for the umpteenth time can be upsetting, clearing out a bunch of enemies and knocking out a boss feels worthwhile and productive. You certainly get a sense of accomplishment from your successes. While not exactly on par with AAA titles, the visuals present are attractive enough to sit in front of for hours at a time. Learning new enemy patterns and responding accordingly is fun and functional enough to provide a good amount of entertainment. You're going to die a lot in Sunward. Fortunately, death only means starting back at your most recently visited memory point. You don't lose money or anything, and there is almost no delay between dying and respawning. Well done. Okay, cons, let's see. The sound is purposeful but uninspired. The music consists of one track on repeat. While it may not be aurally offensive at first, the repetitiveness is enough to make it worth shutting off. The rune system, while not broken, is at least poorly explained and doesn't function in the manner stated by the developer. 5 rune fragments does not necessarily make a full rune, and once you get all the runes there isn't anything more to get or any other reason to collect currency. Really, once you get all the runes, about halfway through the game, there is no other reason for money. This isn't that big of a deal, but there are a lot of typos and grammatical errors throughout the game. I'm sure it's the result of poor translation from Chinese to English, but regardless, it gives the impression of a lazy and cheap developer. While Sunwards has its share of problems, it's probably better than a lot of the games available at the price. If you're looking for something that won't eat up too much of your time and won't keep you up all night playing, Sunward might be a good choice. Thank you for watching this all the way through. If you tend to enjoy stuff of this nature, please like this video and subscribe to this channel to be informed when new videos are added.